The distress call appeared without warning. In the center of the Galactic Council's main hall, a large hologram flickered to life. Red symbols pulsed again and again, showing the same message on repeat. It came from a remote research station far beyond normal trade routes, deep inside a deadly star system. The signal was weak, broken, old, but it was still calling for help. Council members from dozens of alien species gathered around the projection. Long limbs folded, eyes narrowed, feathers ruffled, scales tightened. Everyone understood the meaning of that location. That system was known across the galaxy as a death zone. The star burned hot and unstable. Radiation storms ripped through space without warning. Gravity waves twisted navigation systems. Even unmanned probes rarely survived long there. No sane fleet entered that region unless forced. A senior counselor spoke first, his voice calm but cold. "That station was warned," he said. "They chose to study a forbidden system. We should not waste ships on a lost cause." Another counselor agreed. "No distress call has ever returned from that region. Sending help would mean certain destruction." One by one, the council turned away. Their decision was clear. No one wanted to answer the call. The hologram continued to blink. Ignored. Far away, on a blue-green world called Earth. The same signal appeared on human screens, inside a quiet command room. Human officers studied the data in silence. The room was smaller than the council hall, with fewer lights and simple metal walls. No decorations. No banners. Just screens and people. Commander Elias Ward stood at the center, hands behind his back. He watched the broken signal repeat again and again. "It's still looping," said a technician. "That means someone set it to repeat automatically." Ward nodded. "Or someone is still alive." The room grew quiet. Earth was classified as a death world by the Galactic Council. High gravity, unstable weather, violent predators, constant natural disasters. Many alien species believed humans should never have survived their own planet, but humans had survived. They learned to live with danger, to expect it, to face it. Why did the council refuse? Asked a young officer. Ward answered without turning. Because they fear what they cannot control. He stepped closer to the main screen. The star system rotated slowly, glowing with warning signs. "This place would kill most fleets," another officer said. "Even ours." Ward looked at him. "But not all of ours." A pause followed. Then Ward spoke the words that changed everything. "Activate the Death World fleet." Alarms did not scream. No panic followed. Only quiet movement and focused action. Humans did not shout when danger came. They prepared. Across Earth's orbit, massive ships powered up. Their hulls were thick, scarred, and reinforced. These were not beautiful ships. They were built to survive hell. Alien observers watched in disbelief as the fleet prepared to jump. "They are actually going," one alien analyst whispered. "Into the death zone." Some laughed. Others shook their heads. "They will not return." Many said. The human fleet entered hyperspace. When they exited, space itself seemed angry. Radiation storms flashed like lightning across the void. Gravity pulled at the ships, trying to tear them apart. Sensors screamed warnings. Human ships pushed forward. Inside one vessel, Captain Mara Hayes watched the storm through reinforced glass. Her face remained calm. "Status?" she asked. "Shields holding," came the reply. "Minor damage only." She nodded. "Continue." As they moved deeper, sensors detected movement. Large shapes. Too large. Something was there. The fleet slowed. Then the research station appeared on screen. It was damaged. Dark. Pieces torn away. No power signals. No weapons fire. But the distress signal was coming from inside. Life signs? Hayes asked. Yes, said the scanner officer, surprised. Very weak. But they're there. Before relief could settle in, alarms sounded. New contacts appeared. Unknown. Ships. Silent. Massive. Surrounding the station. They did not transmit messages. They did not warn. They simply turned their weapons toward the human fleet. On Earth. Observers held their breath. In alien space. Many looked away. Humanity had arrived first, and whatever waited in the darkness had noticed. Captain Hayes gave a small, grim smile. So, she said quietly, this is why no one else came. The human fleet moved forward anyway. The human fleet did not slow down. Radiation storms crashed against their shields like endless waves. Bright energy flashes filled space, lighting up the dark system again and again. Gravity pulled hard, trying to drag the ships out of formation. Human pilots adjusted calmly. These conditions would destroy most fleets. One navigator said. Captain Mira Hayes nodded. That's why we trained here. The Deathworld fleet pushed deeper into the system. Their ships were heavy, thick, and strong. They were built for pressure, chaos, and failure. Damage reports came in, but nothing critical. Ahead of them, the alien research station drifted silently. It was worse than expected. Large sections were missing. Docking bays were torn open. Burn marks covered the hull. No defense systems were active. Power was almost gone. Inside the station, frightened aliens waited in darkness. They had sent the distress call days ago. No answer had come. Food was low. Air was thin. Many believed they would die alone in the death zone. Then something impossible happened. Human ships appeared on their broken screens. They came? One alien whispered in disbelief. Someone actually came. Before joy could rise, fear returned. Unknown ships moved around the station like predators. Their designs were ancient and strange. No markings. No lights. Just dark metal and sharp edges. Human sensors struggled to read them. Those ships are old, said a tactical officer. Very old, but heavily armed. Captain Hayes studied the enemy formation. They're hunters. The name spread quickly through the fleet. Hunters were legends. Ancient killers. They attacked weak systems and vanished. Entire colonies disappeared after meeting them. No one knew where they came from, and no one had ever fought them directly. Until now, one of the hunter ships moved forward. Its weapons charged silently. Shields up, Hayes ordered. All ships defensive formation. The first shot came without warning. A beam of energy slammed into a human cruiser. The impact shook the fleet. Alarms flashed, but the ship stayed intact. Damage? Hayes asked. Minor hull damage, came the answer. Shields holding. The bridge went quiet. The hunters fired again and again. Human ships did not retreat. Instead, they moved closer. Alien observers across the galaxy stared in shock. Why are they advancing? One asked. Any sane fleet would pull back. But humans were not sane by galactic standards. Captain Hayes leaned forward. All ships, she said calmly, switched to close combat tactics. Railguns powered up. Missile bays opened. Kinetic weapons locked onto targets. The hunters hesitated. They had expected fear. They had expected retreat. They got aggression. Human weapons fired. Metal slugs tore through space at impossible speed. Missiles detonated near enemy hulls, forcing them to scatter. One hunter ship took a direct hit and spun out of formation. Inside the research station, aliens watched the battle in disbelief. There, fighting for us, one survivor said softly. A hunter ship broke through the human line and rushed toward the station. Captain Hayes reacted. Instantly, "Interceptor squad," she ordered. "Protect the station, no matter what." Small human fighters launched into the storm. Radiation burned around them. Gravity pulled hard. Pilots pushed through pain and warning alarms. They reached the hunter ship and opened fire. The hunter vessel turned. Surprised, it fired back. One human fighter exploded. The pilot was gone. There was no hesitation. The rest of the squad pressed harder. They disabled the hunter ship, forcing it to retreat. Human losses were real, but humans did not stop. Captain Hayes closed her eyes for one brief moment. Then she spoke again. "Begin rescue operation." Docking ships moved toward the damaged station while the fleet continued to fight. Boarding teams prepared for zero gravity and low oxygen. Alien survivors could not believe it. Humans were risking their ships and their lives for strangers. As the first human boarding team entered the station, a weak alien voice came through the comms. Is help really here?" The human soldier answered simply, "Yes, you're not alone anymore." Outside, the hunters regrouped. They were learning. And learning made them dangerous. Captain Hayes watched enemy ships change formation. "They're adapting," she said. The Deathworld fleet held position. This was no longer a rescue mission. It was the beginning of a war. The hunters changed their formation. Their ships spread out, moving slower, more careful. They were learning from every exchange. Ancient machines and living minds worked together inside those dark hulls. Captain Myra Hayes noticed it at once. "They are adapting," she said. "That makes them dangerous." The human fleet responded in its own way. They moved closer. Radiation storms screamed around the ships. Gravity waves hit harder now, shaking decks and twisting metal. Warning lights flashed, but human crews stayed focused. Human ships were not fast like many alien vessels. They were heavy, strong, built to take damage and keep going. A hunter cruiser fired a wide energy blast. The beam cut through space and struck a human destroyer. Destroyer did not break. It kept moving forward. Alien observers watching. The battle fell silent. No ship should survive. That one whispered, but Earth-built ships were designed for worse. They were tested in storms, crashes, and near destruction. Humans expected failure and built past it. Captain Hayes gave a simple order: close range. All ships. The fleet obeyed. Distance vanished. Space filled with fire, human railguns thundered. Each shot was pure force, metal hitting metal at extreme speed. Hunter shields cracked under repeated impacts. Missiles exploded close to enemy hulls, tearing off armor. The hunters tried to pull back. Humans did not let them. Boarding alarms rang. Across several human ships. "Boarding teams ready," came the reports. Alien listeners gasped. "They are boarding?" Someone said. "In open space?" Yes. Humans boarded enemy ships. Small assault craft slammed into hunter hulls. Magnetic clamps locked on. Cutting tools burned through ancient metal. Inside the hunter ship, darkness waited. Human soldiers moved in tight formation. No panic, no shouting. Just clear commands and steady breathing. The hunters fought back. They were tall, sharp, and fast. Their weapons were built to terrify. It did not work. Humans came from a world full of predators. Fear was familiar. Close combat was violent and fast. The hunters expected enemies to break, to freeze, to run. Humans did not. They advanced even when wounded. One soldier fell. Another stepped forward. Within minutes, the hunter ship was silent. A human flag appeared on the hull. The message was clear. Alien observers could not believe what they were seeing. "This is madness," one council member said. "Why would they fight like this? Another answered quietly, because they can. Outside, the largest hunter ship turned its weapons on the human flagship. A massive energy blast charged. Stronger than anything before. Captain Hayes watched the reading. That hit could cripple us, an officer warned. Hayes did not move. Hold course, she sighed. The blast fired. The flagship shook violently. Decks cracked. Systems failed. Crew members were thrown from their stations. For a moment, it seemed the ship might break apart. Then the emergency systems activated. Backup power came online. Secondary shields flared. The ship stayed intact. Cheers did not rise. Humans did not celebrate survival. They acted. All batteries. Hayes ordered. Fire. Every weapon the flagship had. Unleashed at once. The hunter ship took the full. Forced out, its shields failed. Its hull split. The ancient vessel burned. Silence followed. Remaining hunter ships hesitated. For the first time in centuries. They faced something they did not understand. Species that did not fear. Death. A fleet that did not retreat. A world that raised warriors without meaning to. The hunters began to pull. Back. Slowly. Carefully. Inside the research station. Alien survivors watched the enemy retreat. They're leaving, one said. Shocked. They're afraid? Another whispered. Human medics moved through the station, helping the injured. They worked calmly, gently. Even as the battle raged outside. An alien scientist watched a human medic treat a wounded child. Why are you helping us? The alien asked weakly. The medic answered without looking up. Because someone should have helped us once too. Outside, Captain Hayes watched the hunter ships disappear into the storm. She knew this was not the end. The hunters would return. But now, they would remember. They would remember the day they met humans. And why humans were feared. The battle was over. But the danger was not. Human ships held position around the damaged research station. Radiation storms still raged, and gravity waves continued to pull at metal and bone. The Death World fleet stayed alert, weapons ready, sensors wide open. Inside the station, the lights slowly came back on. Emergency power systems activated, and dim white light filled the broken halls. Human engineers worked quickly, sealing breaches and restoring air. Every movement was careful. Every action had a purpose. Alien survivors watched them in silence. They had expected fear. They had expected anger. They did not expect kindness. Human medics moved among the wounded. They used simple tools, steady hands, and calm voices. They did not rush, but they did not stop. A tall alien scientist named Lether sat against a damaged wall, his breathing slow and painful. A human medic knelt beside him. You're safe now, the medic said softly. Lether looked at the human's eyes. There was no pride there. No hunger for praise. Only focus. Why? Lether asked. Why did you come? The medic paused for a moment. Then he answered, because the call was heard. That answer stayed with Lether. In the station's command center, Captain Mira Hayes met with the surviving researchers. The room was damaged, screens cracked, but it still worked. Lether stood among them, leaning on his support brace. We need to tell you the truth, he said. Hayes nodded. Start from the beginning. The scientists explained what they had found. This system was not random. It was a trap. Long ago, an ancient civilization had built something here. A hidden network. A signal designed to attract the hunters. The research station had discovered fragments of it by accident. The hunters were not raiders. They were guards. They destroyed any civilization that came too close to the truth. And the distress call? Hayes asked. Lether's voice grew quiet. We sent it knowing someone might die trying to reach us. We hoped someone strong enough would answer. The room fell silent. Hayes did not look angry. She looked thoughtful. You gambled lives. One human officer said. Yes, Lether replied. And we were ready to die alone when no one came. But you did, Hayes said. Humanity came. Outside the station, human commanders sent a secure message to Earth and the Galactic Council. The truth was too big to hide. The message was short and direct. The hunters are real. They protect something ancient. They will return. Across the galaxy. Panic spread. The same council members who had ignored the distress call now listened in silence. They watched recordings of human ships advancing into the death zone, fighting at close range, refusing to fall back. This changes everything. One counselor said quietly. Yes, another replied. And we were not ready. Back on the station, human crews prepared to leave. The survivors would be escorted to safety. Lether watched the human ships outside the viewport. We believe death worlds produced only monsters, he said. Hayes stood beside him. We believed that once too. She turned to face him. But death worlds also teach survival. And survival teaches responsibility. Lether lowered his head. The galaxy judged you wrongly. Yes, Hayes said. It often does. As the fleet prepared to depart, sensors detected movement at the edge of the system. Small signals. Faint. The hunters were watching. They did not attack. They observed. Human ships did not chase them. Not yet. This was no longer a rescue mission. It was a warning. The Death World fleet formed escort positions around the alien station's evacuation ships. Engines powered up. As they moved toward hyperspace. Messages spread across alien space. Humans had answered a call no one else would. They had faced the hunters, and they had survived. Lether sent one final message to the Galactic Council. You asked who would protect us. Now you know. As the fleet jumped away, the death zone fell silent once more. But the galaxy would never be the same, because the truth was out and humanity was no longer ignored. The galaxy was quiet. After the fleet returned, not peaceful, just silent in a way that came before great change. Death World fleet escorted the rescued alien ships across safe space lanes. Every system they passed through watched in disbelief. Word had already spread. Humans had entered the death zone. Humans had fought the hunters. Humans had answered a call no one else dared to touch. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. This time, no one ignored the message. Holograms filled the chamber, showing damaged hunter ships, human railgun impacts, and recordings from the battle. Council members who once laughed now sat still. These humans, one counselor said slowly, they fight as if survival itself is their language. Another replied, because on their world it is. Captain Mayra Hayes stood before the council via projection. Her uniform was marked by battle, but her posture was calm. You refused the distress call, she said. Humanity did not. Murmurs filled the chamber. Hayes continued, her voice steady. The hunters are not a rumor. They are not a myth. They are watching all of us. And now they know humanity exists. The council feared that, but they also felt something new. Hoped that the rescued aliens were given the floor. Lether stepped forward, still weak but standing tall. We would be dead, he said, if not for humans. They did not ask who we were. They did not ask what we could give them. They came because someone was in danger. Silence followed his words. A vote was called. For the first time in galactic history, Earth's status was changed. Death World. Reclassified. Role, protector species. Across the galaxy, the message spread fast. When danger came, humanity answered. Back on Earth, the people watched the news quietly. There were no grand celebrations. No loud cheers. Humans had never seen survival as heroic. It was just life. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the stars. The fleet was being repaired. Ships bore scars, but they were ready. Her second-in-command approached. "The hunters will come back," he said. Hayes nodded. "I know. And next time," he added, "they won't underestimate us." She allowed herself a small smile. Good. Far beyond known space, the hunters gathered. They had lost ships. They had lost certainty. They had met something unexpected, a species that advanced instead of retreating, a fleet that accepted loss and kept moving, a world where danger was normal. The hunters began to prepare, but so did humanity. New alliances formed. Alien fleets trained alongside humans. They learned human tactics, close combat, layered defense, stubborn advance. Many struggled. Humans did not, because humans had practiced their whole lives. Distress calls began to change. Once, they were ignored. Now, when a signal appeared, people asked only one question: